Tonight, you find yourself walking quietly through the halls of Cleopatra's palace, where the air is cool against your skin and the soft glow of oil lamps trembles along the stone walls. The day has already loosened its hold on Alexandria, and now the palace seems to exhale, settling into a slower rhythm, as if the night itself has stepped inside and asked everything to soften. You move gently forward, hearing only the hush of your own steps and the faint, steady breathing of the river beyond. You arrive not with noise or ceremony, but with a quiet sense of being drawn inward, deeper into a place that seems made for stillness after sunset. Behind you, the city remains somewhere beyond the guarded entrances and broad outer courts, yet its daytime brightness has faded into memory. Ahead of you, the palace opens in layers of calm stone, painted walls, shaded colonnades, and silent chambers where the warmth of the day is giving way to a peaceful evening coolness. Everything feels touched by lamplight and shadow, softened at the edges, inviting you to slow down even more. As you pass through the first long corridor, you notice how carefully the night is tended here. Small oil lamps rest in alcoves cut into the walls, each flame steady and golden, each one making a shallow bowl of light that leaves the corners in gentle dimness. The stone under your feet is smooth from years of quiet passage, and the soles of your sandals barely sound against it. Your hand brushes a wall as you move, and the surface feels cool and faintly polished, holding the last memory of daylight in a way that is already disappearing. The air carries a mingling of soft scents that belong only to evening inside a royal home. There is warm oil from the lamps, a trace of lotus from garlands set in low dishes, and the clean mineral breath of the stone itself, cooled after the long sun. Somewhere nearby, linen has been freshly folded, and the faint smell of washed fabric drifts through an open doorway. None of it is overpowering. Each scent appears lightly, then fades, like something remembered rather than announced, and that lightness makes the palace feel even more restful. You continue at an unhurried pace, following a corridor that bends toward an inner court. The columns here rise like quiet sentinels, their painted details dimmed by the hour but still visible where the lamplight reaches them. Blues and reds and soft gold leaf linger on capitals and bands, not bright now, but muted, as though the palace has wrapped itself in a gentler version of its own splendor. Above, the ceiling disappears into shadow, and below, the floor reflects pale glimmers of flame, so that every step seems to move through a space suspended between earth and starlight. At the edge of the court, you pause. The sky above is deepening, no longer blue, but not yet entirely dark, and a first bright star hangs over the open center, where a small pool lies still and dark as polished obsidian. Around its edges, broad leaves float quietly, and one late blossom remains half open, pale in the fading light. The water does not ripple. It simply holds the evening sky in silence. You breathe more deeply here, as if the open air has widened the stillness within you as much as around you. From somewhere across the courtyard comes the soft movement of servants finishing the last tasks of the day. The sound is never hurried. You hear the whisper of sandals, the faint clink of a bronze tray being lifted, the quiet rustle of linen as someone passes behind a column and disappears again into shadow. No voices rise above a murmur. Even conversation in this hour seems to understand the need for gentleness. The life of the palace has not stopped. It has only lowered itself into a calmer register, where every motion is careful and every sound has room to breathe. You follow the court's perimeter until you reach a wide doorway, draped with woven fabric that stirs with the faintest current of air. As you move through it, the cloth brushes your shoulder, soft and cool, and you enter a receiving hall now emptied of the day's formal activity. During sunlight, this room may hold petitioners, advisors, messengers, and attendants, but now it belongs to quiet. Low couches line the walls. Small carved tables stand ready with cups and bowls no longer in use. The room seems relieved to be still, as though it too has been waiting for this softer hour. Light gathers differently here. The lamps are fewer, their flames reflected in polished stone and in the surfaces of inlaid wood, so that the hall glows in scattered pools rather than in one broad brightness. Your eyes adjust slowly, and with each moment more details appear. You see the curve of a chair leg carved like a lion's paw, the edge of a painted chest, the delicate fringe of a cushion left perfectly arranged. The beauty of the room is not loud. It comes to you in quiet pieces, asking nothing except that you notice. As you walk on, you become aware of the Nile. You do not see it yet, but you sense it just beyond the palace grounds, broad and dark and endlessly patient. A cool breath of air slips through a high opening and carries the faint scent of water and wet reeds. Then, very softly, you hear it. Not a rushing sound, not a strong movement, only a distant watery murmur against the riverbank, as if the night itself were breathing in long, slow intervals. The river does not call for attention. It simply remains there, a steady presence beyond the walls. You turn down another passage, narrower this time, where the lamps are set lower and the walls are painted with trailing vines and birds among papyrus stems. Their forms seem almost to move when the flames flicker, not in any unsettling way, but with the gentle uncertainty of shadows shifting over old color. Your pace slows again. The corridor feels more private, meant for household movement rather than formal display. Here the palace seems closer, more personal, and you begin to feel not like a visitor passing through grandeur, but like someone quietly welcomed into the evening life within it. A servant appears at the far end carrying a small lamp in one hand and folded linen over one arm. When the servant notices you, the movement remains smooth and undisturbed. Only a slight lowering of the gaze, a respectful pause, and then a continued passage along the wall. The flame travels with that figure for a moment, making the linen glow softly before both fade around a corner. The brief encounter leaves no disruption behind. It becomes simply another part of the night's pattern, one more gentle thread woven into the hush of the palace. You pass an open room where scribes once worked through the day. Reeds, scrolls, and small containers of ink have been neatly gathered. The low stools are tucked beneath writing boards. A single lamp remains on a side table, its flame barely moving, as if guarding the order of things until morning. The room smells faintly of papyrus, dry and earthy, and of soot from earlier hours of work. Even here, where thought and record and duty fill the daylight, the night has laid a soft hand over everything, asking for rest. Further on, the corridor opens toward a gallery overlooking another court. This one is planted more thickly, with palms and fragrant shrubs gathered around winding paths of pale stone. In daylight, it may shine with bright color and birdsong, but now it is hushed beneath a darkening sky. The leaves hold still. The flowers release their sweetness more fully in the cooling air. A small fountain lets out a light, regular trickle that seems almost designed for drowsiness, each drop falling with such consistency that your thoughts begin to loosen and drift with it. You rest your hand on the smooth rail of the gallery and look down for a while. Below, two attendants move together carrying a basket between them, their steps matched and unhurried. They pass beneath a lamp and then into darkness, and the basket's outline disappears. Somewhere beyond the court, a door closes softly, not with a hard sound, but with the cushioned finality of wood meeting wood in careful hands. Then stillness gathers again, complete and full, never empty, because the palace is alive even in silence. The deeper evening settles around you so gradually that it is hard to say when it fully arrives. One moment there is lingering twilight in the open spaces, and the next the night has drawn itself over the courtyards and roofs like dark blue silk. The lamps become brighter by contrast, each one a small island of warmth held inside stone. Above, the stars begin to reveal themselves more clearly, visible where roofs do not interrupt the sky. Below, the palace remains calm and composed, as if it has entered the hour it knows best. You move on through a doorway framed by painted lotus buds and into a chamber where the ceiling is lower and the atmosphere more intimate. Cushions lie near a recessed wall niche where a lamp burns beside a shallow bowl of dates and figs left for later refreshment. Fine woven mats soften the floor. A fan of palm fibers rests against one seat, no longer needed now that cooler air has begun to circulate through the rooms. You imagine the long afternoon heat that once lay here and feel grateful for the tender ease that evening brings. In this chamber, the sounds of the palace arrive in layers so faint that you notice them only by standing still. Somewhere nearby, fabric is being shaken once before being folded away. In another direction, metal touches stone with a quiet ringing note, perhaps a cup being set down on a tray. From farther away comes the low call of a night bird outside, brief and solitary, followed by the deep returning hush. None of these sounds feels separate from the silence, they belong inside it, small and natural, like pebbles resting in sand. You leave the chamber and continue toward a staircase lit by 3 closely placed lamps. Their combined glow warms the steps and the wall beside them, where painted stars scatter across a blue field. As you climb, slowly and without effort, the air shifts again. It grows lighter, touched by the openness above, and cooler too. The stone step edges are worn slightly smooth at the center. Countless feet have passed here at many hours of day and night, yet now it feels as though the staircase exists only for you and this quiet ascent. At the top, you emerge into a long upper hall with windows cut high and narrow, each one admitting a slice of darkening sky. The breeze from these openings moves through the corridor in a slow, almost thoughtful way, enough to stir the edge of a hanging drape and to make the lamp flames lean for a moment before righting themselves again. You walk through alternating bands of dimness and gold light. With each step, the palace seems to become less a place of public grandeur and more a private world of calm shelter above the sleeping city. Here the walls are lined with niches holding small figures, vessels and carved boxes, objects chosen as much for beauty as for use. In daylight they might command admiration, but at night they appear softened, half veiled by shadow, and somehow more peaceful because of it. You notice the rounded shoulder of an alabaster jar, the gleam of polished bronze, the pale edge of ivory inlay. None of it asks to be studied. It simply accompanies you, as quietly as the lamps and the air and the distant river beyond the palace. When you reach the end of the hall, another open space awaits, this one a terrace looking toward the Nile. The view is not wide because columns and parapets frame it, but the presence of the river is unmistakable now. The dark surface catches faint fragments of starlight. A moored boat shifts somewhere below with the gentlest knock against wood. Reeds whisper close to the bank. The night over the water feels vast, but not lonely. It surrounds the palace like a wide, steady hand, holding the whole evening in place. You stand there and let the coolness settle over you. Behind you, the palace glows softly from within, its many rooms breathing lamplight through open doors and screened windows. Before you, the Nile moves slowly through darkness, ancient and untroubled, carrying reflections that appear and fade without hurry. Between those two quiet presences, stone and river, shelter and distance, you find yourself suspended in a peace so complete that even your thoughts begin to move more slowly. The night has only just begun, and already everything around you seems to invite rest for the long hours ahead. Section 2. You remain on the terrace for a while, letting the quiet settle more deeply around you, until even the faintest movements of the night begin to feel familiar. The river's soft murmur blends with the stillness of the palace behind you, and the gentle rhythm of both seems to guide your breathing into something slower and more even. Nothing calls you forward, yet something quietly encourages you to continue, as though the palace itself is guiding you along its calm and winding paths. When you turn back inside, the transition feels almost seamless, as if the cool night air follows you through the doorway and lingers in the corridors. The lamps within now seem warmer by contrast, their soft golden glow resting easily against the pale stone walls. You step once more into the upper hall, and your footsteps fall lightly, barely echoing, absorbed by the thickness of the space and the softness of the hour. You walk slowly, not out of caution but because the stillness invites it. Each step feels intentional, unhurried, as though time itself has loosened its pace within these walls. The objects in the niches seem even quieter now, their shapes softened further by deepening shadows. The breeze from the narrow windows brushes gently past you, carrying with it the faint scent of the river and something earthy from the gardens below. As you descend the staircase again, the painted stars along the wall seem to glow faintly in the lamplight, their presence calm and steady. Your hand grazes the stone beside you, and it feels cooler now than before, as if the night has fully claimed it. At the bottom, the corridor stretches ahead in quiet invitation, leading you back toward the inner chambers, where the palace's softer life continues to unfold. You pass once more through the smaller hallways, where the walls seem closer and the atmosphere more intimate. A door stands slightly ajar, and through it you glimpse a quiet room, where a single servant kneels beside a low table, arranging objects with slow and careful movements. The servant's presence is gentle, almost blending into the space itself, and when you move past the scene, remains undisturbed, as though it belongs entirely to the rhythm of the palace rather than to any moment of interruption. Further along, The corridor opens into a wider passage, and here the air carries a slightly richer warmth from a cluster of lamps placed closer together. Their flames flicker softly, casting overlapping shadows that move like slow ripples across the walls. You pause for a moment, watching how the light shifts and settles, and you feel a quiet sense of comfort in the repetition of it, in the way nothing here moves abruptly or demands attention. You continue onward, drawn once again toward the open courtyards. As you step into one, the night has deepened further, and the sky above is now a wide expanse of darkness filled with scattered stars. The small pool at the center reflects them faintly, its surface still undisturbed. The air here feels cooler than before, carrying a light freshness that seems to come from the river and the surrounding gardens. You walk along the edge of the courtyard, your steps tracing the same smooth stone paths, yet everything feels slightly different now, as though the palace has settled more fully into its night form. The sounds are fewer, more spaced out, and the quiet feels deeper, not empty, but full in a way that gently surrounds you. Even your own movements feel softer, as if the space itself is guiding you to move in harmony with it. A faint breeze stirs the hanging fabric at a nearby doorway, and you follow it through into another chamber. This room is dimmer than the others, lit by only a few carefully placed lamps that create a soft, low glow. Cushions are arranged along the walls, and a delicate tray rests on a small table, holding cups that reflect the lamplight in muted glimmers. The space feels prepared for rest, for quiet conversation, or simply for stillness. You sit for a moment, allowing your body to relax into the softness of the cushions. The fabric beneath your hands is smooth and cool, and the gentle support invites you to linger. Around you, the silence is complete but never empty. It holds the distant murmur of the Nile, the occasional whisper of movement somewhere far within the palace, and the steady, comforting presence of the lamps. As you sit there, you begin to notice how the night within the palace feels layered, each space holding its own quiet character. Some rooms are open and airy, touched by the sky, while others are enclosed and softly lit, offering a sense of shelter. Each one seems to contribute to the whole, creating a balance between openness and comfort, between the vastness of the outside world and the intimacy of the interior. After a while, you rise again, not because you feel the need to move, but because the palace seems to gently guide you onward. You step back into the corridor, where the air feels slightly cooler now, and continue your quiet exploration. The path leads you past more rooms, each one touched by the same careful attention to calm and order. You pass a chamber where finely woven fabrics are stored, their folds arranged neatly in low chests. The scent here is soft and clean, with a faint hint of natural fibers and the lingering trace of herbs used to keep them fresh. The room is undisturbed, its stillness complete, and you move through it without making a sound. Further along, you come to a space where the walls are decorated with scenes of daily life, their colors muted by the low light. Figures are painted in graceful lines, their movements captured in a way that feels both distant and familiar. In the quiet of the night, these images seem less like displays and more like gentle reminders of the life that fills the palace during the day. Now resting as the night takes its turn, you continue onward, following a passage that gradually leads you closer to the outer edges of the palace once more. The air begins to carry a stronger hint of the river, and the faint sound of water becomes more noticeable, though still soft and steady. It feels as though the palace and the Nile are in quiet conversation, each one present without overpowering the other. As you reach another terrace, smaller and more enclosed than the first, you pause again. The view here is more intimate, framed by columns and low walls, with the river visible only in glimpses between them. The night air brushes gently against your skin, and you feel a deep sense of calm settle within you, as though the entire space is designed to hold you in this quiet moment. You lean lightly against the cool stone, your gaze resting on the dark water below. The faint movements of the river reflect the stars in subtle patterns, and the occasional sound of reeds shifting adds to the gentle rhythm. Everything feels slow and steady, unchanging in the most comforting way. When you turn back once more, the palace welcomes you again with its warm, steady light. You move through the familiar corridors, each one now feeling like a part of a larger, peaceful whole. The lamps burn quietly, their flames unwavering, and the shadows they cast feel soft rather than dark. You pass once more by the gallery overlooking the garden, and the faint trickle of the fountain continues its steady, soothing rhythm. The plants remain still, their forms outlined softly in the dim light, and the air carries a subtle fragrance that seems to deepen as the night goes on. As you walk, you begin to feel the gentle weight of the night settling, not just around you, but within you as well. Your thoughts slow further, becoming less defined, more like the soft movement of the river than the sharp edges of the day. Each step you take feels lighter, as though the palace is gradually easing you into rest. You return to the chamber with the cushions once more, drawn by its quiet comfort. The lamps here burn just as softly as before, their glow steady and warm. You sit again, this time allowing yourself to sink more fully into the stillness, your body relaxing completely against the softness beneath you. The sounds of the palace are now barely noticeable, distant and faint, like echoes that have softened over time. The river continues its quiet presence, a steady companion to the night. The air remains cool and gentle, carrying with it the calm of everything around you. You rest there, not thinking of movement or time, simply existing within the quiet embrace of the palace at night. The world beyond these walls feels far away, and here, within this space, everything is as it should be, calm, steady, and at ease. The lamps flicker softly, their light casting gentle patterns across the walls and floor. The shadows shift slightly, never sharply, always in a slow and soothing motion. The air remains still, touched only by the faintest breeze that occasionally passes through, bringing with it the coolness of the night. You feel yourself becoming part of this stillness, your presence blending seamlessly into the calm rhythm of the palace. There is no need to move, no need to think, only the quiet experience of being here, in this place, at this time. The night continues around you, steady and unchanging, holding the palace in its gentle embrace. And as you remain there surrounded by the soft glow of lamplight and the distant murmur of the Nile, you feel a deep and peaceful rest settling over you, as though the entire world has slowed just enough to let you drift quietly within it.